They look better. I bet there's down there. Like down the hole. I don't know.
Right.
I think it's pretty loud. I had somebody use it pretty loud.
They're here for the,
I worked in the morning and something.
mostly they're here.
The meeting for the Village of Skokie Board of Trustees will come to order. It is Monday, April the 16th, 2018. This evening, we're pleased to have Cub Scout Troop 968 do the Pledge of Allegiance. Gentlemen?
Will the audience please rise? Color guard post colors. Oh, jeez. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. And, wait. Two. Color guard retreat. Color guard retreat. Color guard dismissed.
Thank you. The meeting for the Board of Trustees will come to order, and the clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Roberts.
Here.
Trustee Sutker.
Here.
Trustee Ulrich is absent today. Trustee Bromberg.
Here.
Trustee Klein.
Here.
Trustee Gray Keeler.
Here.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Here, we have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda for the meeting this evening. Motion is in order. Trustee Roberts, seconded by Trustee Sutker. Is there anything on the consent agenda anybody would like to have removed? If not, call the roll, please.
Trustee Roberts.
Aye.
Trustee Sutker.
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg.
Aye.
Trustee Klein.
Aye.
Trustee Gray Keeler.
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye, the motion passes. With that vote, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Ken Mantell. Ken? The board has just approved Ken to be a member of the Public Safety Commission, so thank you very much. Would you introduce your family? You have family members with you, I see.
My beautiful wife, Michelle, and my daughter, Meredith, my son, Chase, my sister, Michelle, my mom, Titania, and my father, Harvey.
Welcome. Thank you. Well, welcome to the commission. I can assure you we will put you to work right away. It's a very important commission. It helps give the police and fire departments, the village board, guidance on keeping our community safe. As you will see in just a couple minutes, we will be swearing in 2 new police officers. And we have a truly nationally recognized great police department. The contribution of the Public Safety Commission is indispensable. So thank you, Ken. Appreciate your offer of service, and we will see you back here for many functions, I know. So welcome aboard. Thank you. And it gives me great pleasure next to introduce Dr. Catherine Kennard and Dr. Drackler. Dr. Drackler is chairman of the Board of Health. Doctors?
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. I'm Dr. Kennard. I'm the director of the Health Department in Skokie. And with me tonight from our staff are Susan Riesberg, who is our personal health supervisor, David Cleff, who is our public health analyst, and Bruce Jones, who is the supervisor for environmental health and animal control, along with Dr. Drackler and Dr. Williams from the Board of Health. So every year, as you know, the Skokie Health Department and the Board of Health select entities within the village to recognize for their contribution to public health. We really could not provide critical services to residents without the cooperation and assistance of many individuals and organizations. So each year we give Public Health Partners of Excellence Awards. This year's recipients are, first, the Niles Township Food Pantry, for serving food with dignity to 7,000 members of our community each month who do not have the resources to adequately feed themselves and their families. As the number served each month has nearly doubled from 4,000 to 7,000 over the past 2 years, the food pantry met the challenge without missing a beat. The food pantry also strives to provide nutritious foods, not only prepackaged items. This necessitated acquiring a walk-in refrigerator freezer to store meat donated by area grocery stores and produce donated by farmers who participate in the weekly Skokie Farmers Market. Furthermore, the food pantry provides job training for people with developmental disabilities who stock shelves and perform other tasks, which is a wonderful opportunity for these individuals. So tonight, please join me in thanking the food pantry, and Niles Township trustee Mark Collins is here to receive the award. Come on up.
And Mark, Mark,
Yes, sir.
you'll introduce your Confederates in arms.
Yes, and actually, I'd like them to come up here with me because we are a team.
Yes.
We got Trustee Don Gelfand and Lisa Hanley, who is in our Food Pantry Foundation Board. And because of illnesses and the flu going around, I just want to acknowledge our wonderful supervisor, Marilyn Glazer, and a guy who is indispensable if you guys have done anything at the food pantry, Tony Araki. Really want to give it to that guy. And if I may give a couple of more acknowledgments. About 6 or 7 years ago, when our numbers were 5, 6, 8, 1,000, 1,200, I came here to most of you folks here in this board and got something that totally changed the face of the food pantry. It was a block grant that opened the door to us opening the doors to the numbers of people we can service today. So emotionally, thank all of you. Thank the village of Skokie. And one other person I want to acknowledge, there are unsung heroes out there. And if you were on Facebook today, you saw one of them. Ken Klinkman, stand up, please. Ken Klinkman he's a guy I call my wingman. Today, Ken Klinkman picked up thousands of breakfast bars and dropped them off at 219 and 69. And those breakfast bars came from an idea that Ken and I had after visiting the schools one day and realizing that the teachers were buying breakfast bars for their students. And that's where the Niles Township Food Pantry came in. We helped, and Ken Klinkman You are my wingman, brother. So I do thank you. And one last one, if I may indulge. My wife, who has put up with me for so many years, when I go home complaining, oh my God, how are we going to take care of these people? She calms me down. She pushes me forward. So Eileen Collins, I love you. Thank you. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, thanks for all of your help.
Okay. Next, for the second award of the evening, we are recognizing the Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County for working tirelessly to reduce waste through community programs, education, workshops, and resources. The Health Department is particularly pleased to partner with SWANK to ensure appropriate disposal of unwanted medications, sharps, compact fluorescent light bulbs, and batteries. Each year, more than 700 pounds of medications and sharps are collected at our site through these popular programs. In addition, Mary Allen gave an inspiring presentation to the Board of Health back in 2014, which contributed to completing the 2016 Skokie Environmental Sustainability Plan, which is a first for the community. I would like to invite Dave Van Voren, who is the Executive Director, and Mary Allen, who's the head of their recycling education programs, to come and receive the award. I want to add that I participated yesterday in the wonderful recycling event. I had to pry the old prom dresses out of my daughters who are graduating from graduate school now, but we did move those along. So I thought it was wonderful, and I appreciate that everyone was out there, all of the volunteers, in such terrible weather. But for me personally, I unloaded a lot of things. So thank you, guys.
Well, I must say that I was not aware that Swank was receiving the award until everybody else was informed. I'm very proud to be the chairman of the board of directors of the Solid Waste Agency, and along with John's predecessor, was one of the founders of the agency. I will not say how long ago that was. However, I will point out that John's predecessor stole antennas from Swank. And it's one of the few times, I think, where Al stole personnel from me for the village, without telling me, by the way. But yesterday, along with our Public Works Department, the Park District, District 219, and many volunteers, with Swank, we service close to 950 vehicles, which is about a 5% increase, I'm told. Nearly 3 semi-trailers of electronic waste and 15 tons of paper shredded. That's just an example. On a personal note, I've known Mary for close to 2 decades, I would say. Close.
23 years.
23 years. I do not know of another person who truly is more inspiring when it comes to recycling. One of the reasons this region has the recycling that we do is because of Mary inspiring the 23 municipalities that make up the Solid Waste Agency. She has done outstanding work, and Skokie is just one of the 23 beneficiaries. We have nearly 850,000 residents within the catchment area, and I want to thank Dave and Mary for everything that they do with a small staff we service a large number of people. And Dave, maybe you would like to add a couple comments.
First off, thank you on behalf of Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County, its 23-member communities, and our staff, as the mayor said. Mary Allen and Lisa Woody and I are basically the staff anymore at the Solid Waste Agency, and we try to deliver economically efficient and sound environmental programs to protect the environment, as well as make sure that the garbage is efficiently and effectively removed. Our transfer station is state-of-the-art for the region. It's one of the largest. It allows us opportunities to be efficient for the disposal of waste, but it also creates an opportunity that generates a little bit of outside revenue to allow the agency to do those special collection programs that all of our 23 partners participate in. Skokie's not unique, although you may think you're unique in this room.
Oh, yes, we are.
Skokie's not unique when the agency looks at stewardship. All 23 of our members participate in that stewardship on the safe disposal of items that should not be included in landfill waste by residents. And we appreciate their efforts. They continue to push us to strive to be better stewards ourselves, and we look forward to the next 7 or 8 years when we can get another award from the good doctor. Thank you.
Thank you. Two really great honorees this evening, and we want to thank both the Solid Waste Agency and our great food pantry. Thank you for everything that you do. We appreciate it. And next on the agenda is a swearing in by Nicole Podest, who's a member of the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission. Nicole?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Van Dusen, village trustees, Police Chief Scarpelli, Fire Chief Brandt, and all of you, including a very special welcome to the family and friends of tonight's inductees, as we swear in Skokie's newest police officers, Marvin Martinez and Armando Gracia Jr. Being a police officer is a calling, a dedication to serve and protect a community each and every day, a great responsibility that yields impact on the community in countless ways. Tonight, I'd like to take the opportunity to be one of the first to welcome you to our vibrant and diverse community in the village of Skokie. Thank you in advance for your commitment, dedication, and service to our community. So now it is my great honor to begin the swearing-in ceremonies. Okay. We'll do Mr. Martinez first. Okay, I'll put this here so you can see that. Okay. So if you raise your right hand and repeat after me. So I, please state your name,
I, Marvin Martinez,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
State of Illinois,
State of Illinois,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
the Ordinance of Village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations
and the rules and regulations
of the Police Department
of the Police Department
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great. Okay.
Officer Martinez? Oh, no, it's just getting started.
Okay.
I, Armando Gracia Jr.,
Do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
State of Illinois,
State of Illinois,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie
and the rules and regulations
and the rules and regulations
of the Police Department
of the Police Department
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
of a police officer to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, Officer Martinez, would you introduce your family and friends who are with you this evening?
My father, Gregorio, please stand up. My mother, Anna,
Welcome.
and my brother, Juan.
Welcome. And Officer Garcia?
My beautiful wife of 10 years, Maria. My son, Ethan, 4 months. My beautiful daughter, Natalie, who's going to be 3 in June.
Rob, you've joined one of the premier police departments in the country. And I don't say that just out of hometown pride, but as a matter of fact. Our department is one of the few in the state and across the country that is fully accredited, state-of-the-art. But just recently, we had a rather astounding event take place. Our police chief, Scarpelli, was chosen by the FBI was invited to Quantico for a week. That is an enormous credit to our department because each one of the FBI sub-departments across the country was permitted to invite one person. And that nomination then went to DC for final acceptance. For the entire Chicago area, our department is the one that was recognized, Chief Scarpelli. And Officer Garcia, Officer Martinez, that's just an example of the kind of department you're joining. The leadership is exemplary. And up and down the rank and file, you're going to find great comrades. So we want to welcome you, welcome your families into our family. You're going to enjoy working for the Skokie Police Department. Welcome aboard. It's great to have you. And why don't we take just a couple minutes so everybody can congratulate Mr. Mantell and Officers Garcia and Martinez, and then we'll resume the meeting. So we'll take just a couple minutes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the meeting of the board will resume. Next item on the agenda is report of our village manager, John Lockerbie.
Thank you, Mayor Van Duzen and trustees. Item A is regarding a proposed ordinance amending Chapter 26, Article 6 of the Skokie Village Code, cigarette and tobacco sales, to increase the minimum legal age to 21 for the purchase and sale of tobacco products. This evening, it's my pleasure to introduce three passionate individuals to speak on this topic. And so Dr. Kennard, Drackler, and Williams will be speaking this evening. But before I turn it over to them, I would like to entertain a motion, if that's your pleasure, Mr. Mayor, for the village board is respectfully requested to authorize Corporation Council to prepare the necessary ordinance for further board consideration.
Okay, a motion would be in order. Trustee Bromberg, seconded by Trustee Gray Keeler. And Dr. Drackler, you're not going to get away with not talking this time.
I get to talk.
Hope you're feeling
I
better.
would like to introduce Dr. Sanborn, who came with us, who is the head of cardiology at North Shore University Health System, who has been a key player in our project of proposing to you Tobacco 21 ordinance
Okay.
for the village.
Dr. Drackler, there we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
We also have from the Heart.
Yes. Other people who've come today are Beth Lindley to show her support. Chief Scarpelli is also in support of the ordinance, although he's preoccupied at the moment and wasn't able to speak. We have Howard Meyer from the Chamber of Commerce. The Board of Health presented to the Chamber, and they overwhelmingly voted in support of this ordinance. We also have Donna Ziegler, who's the head of the Evanston Board of Health. And from the Heart Association, we have Julie Marazza, who is the Senior Director of Government Relations, also in support. So they're here tonight.
We're here to support Tobacco 21.
I'm going to advance the slides here.
Okay. There you go. Why do we care? Who is we? We is the Board of Health, the Health Department, and the area physicians who take this very seriously. This is why we care. Because tobacco companies know if a man has never smoked by the age of 18, the odds are 3 to 1, he never will. By the age of 24, the odds are 20 to 1 that he never will. Tobacco companies want young people to start smoking. We've done a really good job. Since 1964, we've decreased the incidence of U.S. smoking from 43% to, in 2012, to 18%. We've done a really good job with smoking cessation programs, which we have. Sue Reesberg and our department have done a great job. But we've got to get people, young people in particular, not to start smoking. Because if you don't start, then you don't have to stop. Smoking remains the #1 preventable cause of death in the United States. Each year, smoking kills nearly 500,000 Americans and costs the nation almost $300 billion in healthcare expenses and lost productivity. It's expensive in terms of dollars, cents, and lives. 443 annual U.S. deaths attributed to cigarette smoking. Lung cancer, #1. Ischemic heart disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. See where it says other cancers up there? Let's see what tobacco smoking does in regards to other organs in the bodies. It affects the colon, the cervix, the stomach, the liver, the pancreas, the lip, the pharynx, the esophagus, the kidney, the bladder, diabetes, macular degeneration, and it affects fertility, and it also affects pregnancy and premature deliveries and low for gestational age, low birth weight babies. It has a tremendous effect upon our health. Causes of death in working age Skokie adults: cancer, cancer, cancer. From the ages of 35 to 74, lung cancer is number 1, colon cancer number 2. It affects heart disease as well as cancer, all related to smoking. An idea that whose time has come. 95% of all smokers began smoking before the age of 21. Neuroscientific evidence indicates that the adolescent brain has a heightened susceptibility to addictive qualities of nicotine. It's not the nicotine that kills. It's the pollutants in smoking, in the cigarettes, in the tobacco that kills. The nicotine addicts us, makes us want to smoke. And then we get the pollutants. That's what poisons us, poisons our body. According to a recent Gallup poll, 90% of adult smokers claim if they had a chance to do it over again, they wouldn't do it in the first place. This was an interesting slide that I found early in my training. And if you look at the top, the number 1 addictive substance in this article, and has yet to be disproved, is nicotine. More than crystal meth, more than crack cocaine, alcohol, heroin, number 1 on the list is nicotine. If you don't start smoking, you won't get addicted to nicotine. Yes, nicotine makes you feel good. It affects the dopamine receptors in the brain. It raises the heart rate, increases your ability to pay attention, and it carries with it in cigarettes death. Now I'd like to have Dr. Williams, who is well known, especially in armed forces circles, about trying to stop smoking in the military. Larry?
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the trustees. Appreciate this opportunity. Just a curiosity, how many people in the audience think that nicotine causes cancer? Just curious. Raise your hand. That's about right. Usually when I give a talk about tobacco and in the dental setting, because I'm a dentist, but talking about quitting, usually about half the people think that nicotine causes cancer. It doesn't. It's not a carcinogen nor a co-carcinogen. It doesn't lead to cancer. It is the addictive substance that gets people hooked, and then they smoke, and their lifetime is shortened because of the tobacco use that they have. And it's all forms of tobacco, whether it's vaped, hookah, chewed, dipped, or smoked. But smoking is the one we're talking about because that's the one that's been studied the most. But if you take away the smoking, the actual smoked cigarettes, which the tobacco companies know that people don't smoke as much because there's not as much demand for cigarettes now, they've switched over to vaping. They switched over to other forms, and there is no safe form of tobacco. So it's just something to remember that, they're going to make a change, and we have to be ready for it. Thus, the 21 is one mechanism that we can go forward with to help that. Okay. I want to talk about Needham, Massachusetts. This was a very interesting component because the adjoining Needham, Massachusetts adopted Tobacco 21. Well, one high school was in that area, and there was a neighboring high school that was not affected by Tobacco 21. And I think it's so interesting to see because the Needham, Metro West, Needham is the red right here, and their tobacco use at their high school plummeted because nobody was able to buy tobacco. They weren't 21, okay? But if you look at the other high school, which still had people that of the 18 years of age, their tobacco use dropped a little bit, which was basically the standard norm of the nation, as tobacco use was coming down for smoking. That's the key here. If you were to put vaping up there, it's actually going in the other direction and increasing. But overall tobacco use, because they went to 21, the students couldn't buy the electronic nicotine devices, they couldn't buy the cigarettes, they couldn't buy the dip, and it made a difference. And if you think about this, the number of lives, the health years that were saved by this decrease in the amount of tobacco use is tremendous. I don't know if you know this or not, and I'll talk about it here in a second, but to run an Air Force base in the United States military is approximately $1.5 billion per year. To run an Air Force base with all the planes, everything else, and all the manpower. That's how much it costs the military every year for tobacco breaks. Just the breaks. Just the people not being productive because they're going to take their 20 minutes to go smoke or dip or whatever. That's what you as taxpayers pay. So if we can stop it with a 21, we're much better off. So here in the Skokie area, or actually northern Illinois, Evanston. Dr. Samwer, where are you? Stand up, take a bow. Yeah, we got to congratulate him. They put a wonderful effort forward, and they enacted 21. They really did, and it's done a wonderful job. They've already seen a decrease, and they're seeing some tremendous benefits from getting that tobacco 21. Other areas have done it, Lake County, the first county, and several municipalities. Just to tell you, the state of Hawaii adopted tobacco 21, and the military bases in Hawaii are going along with the tobacco 21. It's not a free area because actually the state of Hawaii actually owns the military compounds. It's sort of an unusual circumstance, but they're tobacco 21 now, and the sailors, Army, sailors, the Marines, Navy, all of them have to participate with that. So when we look at what's happening with what we're doing and what the Evanston, if you look at the green is Evanston, their smoking rate is dropping precipitously. It's dropping down. It's lowering, and it's a wonderful aspect, and they're leading the way for us to follow. I'd rather it been the other way around, but they got the jump start on us. Sorry about that. Okay. So here we are where it was passed, and look at the numbers dropping off. It's wonderful. Oops, I got to go back. Where's my page up? Got to do that, got to do this. Okay, so high school e-cigarettes though, this is where, teen e-cigarette use in Evanston is at 9%, but look at it for Skokie. We need to change that. We need to get the 21 enacted so they can't do it. And remember, the board passed, thank you for doing that. Was it 2 years ago? They passed the electronic nicotine devices to be cigarette products. 2015. So that's absolutely wonderful that they did that. So, will this hurt tobacco sales? No, because if you look, the number of people that buy, it only represents about 2% of the tobacco products that are bought by people between the ages of 18 and 21. And I'll show you a slide here, or we'll show you a slide here in a minute, that most 16-year-olds know an 18-year-old. They don't know a 21-year-old. I don't mean to steal that, but I thought that's a pretty profound statement. And more than 8,700 young people in Illinois become regular smokers every year. Every year. And those are billions of dollars in health care costs over a period of time. So, cost to employees, and I think it's not health care cost, it's breaks. And I already mentioned the Air Force Base, how much it costs in the military, $1.5 billion, but look what it costs just per person per year. Per person per year. And it's amazing. This was one of them that they laid on me, and I've had to give testimony on this several places at the national level and at state level and other places. If you can carry a gun and protect your country, why can't you smoke or why can't you drink? Well, if you didn't know this, the military has enacted 21 for alcohol for good reason. They are enacting the 21 for tobacco in certain areas, and they're getting more of them to go along with it. What we didn't talk about earlier, the child brain the young adult brain is still developing up until the age of 25. And at that time, between this time period, that's why young people are so positive to addiction for opioids, narcotics, and nicotine, because it wires their brain. It actually alters the way their brain is formed as young people. That's why it's necessary to do that. So, old enough, yes, you're old enough to smoke. Do you know what you're doing? Not really, because you don't know what's happening to your brain, because you're addicted to nicotine. So, service members, $1.5 billion just on medical related costs, but all the other things, and you as taxpayers pay for it. And it's simply because people are able to smoke. Okay, Dr. Drackler.
Recently, Will passed the ordinance for Tobacco 21, was I believe in yesterday's newspaper. So the proposed ordinance is to increase the age to purchase or sell tobacco products in Skokie to the age of 21. There will be no greater burden on businesses, the same age checking process with a different date. It will be the same for checking for smoking as checking for alcohol. Same identification card, both at the age of 21. It's not more difficult to check. The age for possession of tobacco products will remain 18. Somebody 18 or over has a tobacco product, we will not persecute them. Financial penalties for businesses will remain unchanged. Why does this make sense? As Dr. Williams said, most 16-year-olds know an 18-year-old who will buy them tobacco products. Most 16-year-olds don't know a 21-year-old who will buy them tobacco products. This reduces access to the most at risk. We want to stop our young people from starting smoking and not have to address how do you stop smoking. We need to get them and get them young to bypass cigarettes and other tobacco products and vaping. It is a matter of life, death, health, money, however you want to put it. It is a major problem in the United States. And we, as residents of the village of Skokie, want to be on board to have the health of our citizens put at the forefront of what we do, and that, we believe, is to pass Tobacco 21. Right? Questions?
I think Howard, did you have a statement you wanted to make on behalf of the chamber?
Trustees, thank you very much. Again, I'm Howard Meyer. I'm the Executive Director for the Skokie Chamber of Commerce. At our February board meeting, Dr. Cunard and Dr. Drackler gave us a very similar presentation. Our board members are made up of 23 business leaders and community leaders, public sector leaders, and they overwhelmingly endorsed this ordinance. They are urging me to request that you support this ordinance as well. What is good for the young people of our community is certainly good for the village of Skokie, whether we're talking about residents or businesses. So many thanks.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they wish to add? Otherwise, anybody on the village board? Trustee Klein.
Just one clarification. This is for all tobacco products, no matter what the delivery system is.
That is correct.
Okay.
I'd like to address that very quickly. At one time, it was believed that vaping would be the way to get people who smoked cigarettes to step down, to go down, to stop smoking. There were recent articles in the pediatric journals in December and January that shows just the opposite. Vaping is the way that young people are introduced to smoking cigarettes. It's exactly the opposite of what we thought. And putting vaping under the guidelines of Tobacco 21 is most important.
Trustee Sucker.
As you know, I'm a social worker, and I see a lot of these young kids vaping, and sometimes they say that they're juuling, they're vaping products that they say are fruit flavored, but it's my understanding those are just as dangerous with nicotine in them and all sorts of other things, but they vape with something that looks like a memory stick for your computer. They're bringing it into the high schools. It's a huge problem.
Right.
And so I just want to tell you that I 100% support this, and I hope that it will make that difference. And if you could speak to Julie a little bit, that would be.
Well, I just wanted to add that on, is it April 25th? All of the school districts are coming together with the middle schools, and they're bringing for a session for parents all the different devices they've collected. So you can see that this is not, innocent, that the tobacco companies are developing things that look like a jump drive so the kids can use it, rather than an adult obviously would not bother with that. You're just going to be out on the street vaping. So it is the full intent of the tobacco companies to continue to get kids addicted to nicotine. But we are going to have that, and there's going to be big jugs so no one walks off with the display of the things that were collected at the high schools. If you want to come, where is it going to be, Sue?
Fairview South, April 25th, which is a Wednesday at 7 p.m.
All the school districts are coming together with the parents are invited.
Have you heard about these fruit flavored?
Yes, I was going to.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you?
There's believe it or not, there's over 5,000 different flavors. And what they also found, anybody heard of popcorn lung? Okay, they've actually found some impurities within the flavorings, not just the tobacco, the tobacco byproducts that cause some damage to the body, but they've actually found with the flavorings, they actually cause intense lung damage. And they've actually found it in young people. The Pediatric Journal just had a research project that was mentioned about that. So they're thinking because they're flavored, because there's, they don't realize that there's a problem, but there is. And you know that how many people have seen the huge cloud of smoke that comes out of somebody's car when they've stopped at a light somewhere and you think their radiator's exploded? And that big, do you know what that's made of? Anybody know? Formaldehyde. It's formaldehyde gas. That's what the byproduct is of propylene glycol when it's heated. And then they also found that the batteries that heat the product, the heavy metals that are in the batteries, the cadmium and beryllium and other metals that are in the battery are actually going into the lung too. So you're not only getting potential for cancer from just the tobacco product itself, and all of the ends, electronic nicotine delivery devices, actually have a tobacco background. They all come from tobacco products.
Trustee Roberts.
Doctors, what I've learned tonight is the impact of what it does to an adolescent's brain. So if you had 90 seconds with the young people of Skokie, what would you tell them about what they're doing to their brains by smoking?
They are harming themselves to the point of not being able to fulfill their potential by taking toxins into their brain, and that they are hurting themselves and their future by sucking in toxic products. What they do now will affect them for the rest of their life.
And the other aspect is those of us who are not smokers or not tobacco users that generate dopamine, the feel-good chemical in our brain, we generate that through other things, exercise, enjoyment, social settings, things like that that don't require tobacco. That means that we're able to do without an addictive substance, and we have a normal life with that. So it does make a big difference.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for listening to us. We put in a lot of work with all of our members of our committee, and we're very, very appreciative of you giving us the time to come and present to you. We really feel strong about the health of the citizens of the village of Skokie, and in particular, our young people. They have a long life to live. Let them do it under the best possible circumstances, avoiding tobacco products.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Roberts,
I wholeheartedly vote aye.
Trustee Sutker,
I vote aye, 100%.
Trustee Bromberg,
I definitely vote 100% aye.
Trustee Klein,
If they would have said 25, I would have voted aye.
I'll go with 100% aye.
Trustee Greg Keeler, Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you to the Board of Health.
It's a hard act to follow. Items B and C, as well as D, were approved under tonight's consent agenda. Item E is a request for executive session pursuant to Section 2, Paragraph C5 and C6 of the State of Illinois Open Meetings Act. A closed session is requested and to adjourn therefrom.
A motion for the executive session is in order. Trustee Roberts, seconded by Trustee Sutker. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Roberts,
Aye.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg,
Aye.
Trustee Klein,
Aye.
Trustee Greg Keeler,
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye. The motion passes.
That completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Report of our Village Corporation Counsel, Michael Lorge, is next.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. Good evening, everyone, as the crowd thins out for my report. Item A
Don't take it personally.
No, never. Item A is an ordinance which was on the consent agenda at the beginning of this evening and adopted at that time. Item B is a resolution on my report for first reading and board action tonight. This resolution will approve and request the continuation of a Class 6B status for the property located at 3501 Howard Street in Skokie. Under Cook County ordinances, real estate tax relief can be extended under Class 6B regulations, and it requires that the municipality in which the real estate is situated pass a resolution in support of that extension and refer it on to the county. This board passed Resolution 0611R951 on November 20, 2006, which made a 6B determination pertaining to the 8.3 acre site located at 3501 Howard Street in Skokie, and the county subsequently granted the 6B status. At that time, Wi-Fi Howard LLC purchased the abandoned industrial building on that site, which is located in the southeast industrial area of Skokie. Subsequently, the applicant has undertaken substantial and quality rehabilitation and renovation of the existing industrial structure, and it's used primarily for small industrial offices and for incubator-style purposes. A Class 6B status granted to a property has the duration of 12 years, but the county entertains extensions of the 6B where appropriate. The applicant has petitioned the Village of Skokie for a determination in support of the renewal of the Class 6B status. Regardless of one's business model or the business plan established 12 years ago, at the time the 6B was granted, there has been great upheaval in the economy and business community over the past 12 years due to the changes in our economy as we have all witnessed and to some degree experienced over the past 12 years. The applicant's property has and will continue to be utilized for industrial and incubator-style purposes, which require lower rents for new and developing businesses. Numerous businesses have been launched at this property and grown to prominence at other locations in the village. The renewal of the Class 6B tax incentive is necessary for the continued successful operation of this unique business model, which has and will continue to provide significant employment opportunities within the village. is also necessary for the continued operation and reutilization of the applicant's property. The applicant has submitted extensive financial documentation to demonstrate the function and the need to continue the 6B status, which has been reviewed by Corporation Counsel and Economic Development staff. Renewal of a Class 6B status is evaluated on a case-by-case basis, and the county also will carefully evaluate such application and thereafter every year require further certification by the applicant. The applicant has submitted extensive information containing rent rolls, building costs, which has been requested by the Corporation Counsel Office and the Village Economic Development staff, and it has been reviewed to substantiate the request at this time for a continued 6B status. We ask for board action to approve and support a request for renewal of the Class B status for the property under the permanent real estate tax identification numbers 1026-400-016-000, 1026-400-029-000, 1026-400-021-000, and 1026-400-031-000. I request board action this evening, Mayor.
A motion on a resolution to extend Class 6B status for 3501 Howard Street is in order. I will not go through and repeat all the PIN numbers. Motion is in order. Trustee Klein, seconded by Trustee Gray Keeler. Are there any comments or questions? Trustee Klein.
Yes, I studied this case, and as long as I see it, as long as they meet the criteria for the extension, and the county goes along with it on their say, I see no reason why we should not grant this. I think there's individual cases, and this is like an appellate board, that we have to keep our minds open, that we can't just stay to the tight letter of the law here. And they, like I said, if they meet the criteria, I see no reason why we shouldn't go along with it.
Thank you. Trustee Roberts.
I'm very sympathetic to this petitioner here, but I think it's important that we establish a little bit of a record here about this property and its uses, just so that we have a basis in the future when we do our case by case. So I don't know who could answer. I think if Len or Leslie could answer just a few questions, I would really appreciate it.
Mayor, Trustee Roberts, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Len, and I appreciate the memo that you drafted for us, but my understanding for these 6Bs and the criteria that's really unique here, could you talk about the nature of the property use here and the economics that really require some further extension of this 6B status for this type of business?
Sure. Trustee Roberts, this is a very unique property in the fact that it is truly an incubator type of property. They're few and far between. We all know about the success of WeWork in the office environment. We don't have any of those in Skokie, but in the case of this particular property, it's an industrial incubator. It also provides space, small, short-term space for office tenants. There are 5 loading docks interior into the building, 5 docks exterior typically that you would find. So that's unique in and of itself. It's a secure building. It has a technology in place. So it's a fully functional building where an entrepreneur or somebody who's got a side business can lease space fairly affordably and hopefully grow into a sustaining enterprise. And to that end, a lot of these leases, they're small in nature. So in a case like this, those tenants can't afford $1 a square foot in the increase of property tax that they would, as a matter of fact, based on the projections, not only internally but through the property owner, would experience. And that would absolutely kick a lot of these fledgling businesses to either out of business or to another location outside of Cook County. So we, in a nutshell, there was a vacant building in 2004. The building came online in 2007. No one knew what was going to happen in 2010. So it's a changing dynamic. And I was looking at the vacancy rates. That was another consideration when we kind of broke with, this is a special exception. The vacancy rates today are actually 10% higher than they were 3.5 years ago. So there's definitely an opportunity, but we don't want to see a vacancy rate become 50% or 60%, or see the building ultimately fail either.
If I could add.
Sure.
Interestingly enough, it's the strength of this model that also creates the problem. So the strength of the model is to design a relatively small space that's affordable to someone who's an entrepreneur or is a startup, give them that opportunity to go and grow, and really help the village, because there are few other entry levels for that kind of business or economic development. And yet, it is the very problem, because there's only so much that space can generate in rental dollars to support the increase. And that's what makes it unique, and why we really would like to see it keep going.
Now, Len, also, this model then has another benefit to Skokie. Some of these are there examples where the little businesses have then spun off and relocated to other areas of Skokie?
Well, interestingly enough, the best example, and this again was not the village, it was a successful business model, was Farmore, which originally was located in this building, spun out onto its own, and was recently acquired by another larger multinational company. Out of, just looking at some of the background information provided by the accountant for the property owner, there are all but 2 companies out of 10, so 8 out of 10 are still in that building, and not only are still in the building, but have actually grown. So you have everyone from woodworking, so you have craftsman types of businesses, technology firms, auto parts distributors, catering kitchens. You just have all sorts of warehousing, distribution, manufacturing, office, and technology/professional services. And, the other factor that went into our decision, these are short-term leases. The bulk of the leases are up for renewal starting in June of this year through June of next year. If those taxes went up, those businesses would have a pretty tough decision to make, because they can't afford the rent for all intents and purposes. And last but not least, I promise, a lot of the homegrown businesses that are entrepreneurs have an 8-to-1 economic impact on the community. So for every dollar spent, 80 cents is retained in the community, versus a multinational or an employee of a company that can pick up and move. Their decisions are not tied to Skokie, where those businesses that are here are tied, they're vested in the community or within the region. And that in and of itself is another factor that we looked at.
Trustee Sucker.
Len, does the county usually take the recommendation of the municipality in these kind of extensions? I'm not familiar with how an extension works.
Trustee Sucker, we have not gone down this road in
Right.
the past. From what I've read, and not to cite sources, but Cranes and some other sources have made the statement that the county is really looking at cracking down and ensuring that those that are receiving these tax abatements qualify per the county's ordinance, and that includes purchasing, livable wages, health insurance. So there are other factors. So that's why we, as the village are just supporting this, but it's really the county's program to audit every year. And from what I've been reading, they're really starting to crack down.
But is it true that this meets the criteria for the county's position?
Yes. I mean, based on this fact, but we're not the body that's going to audit the property owner. So that's really the onus on the county.
Thank
So
you.
fundamentally, the feeling is that if, to our purposes, that being the growth of economic development, presenting an opportunity for businesses that otherwise probably couldn't stay in Skokie because of per square costs elsewhere, if we meet those criteria for the village, we would encourage the board to approve it and let the county be the ultimate decider as to some of these broader issues, which really aren't ours directly. Let the county let's at least get the businesses in front of the county.
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Roberts.
Aye.
Trustee Sutka.
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg.
Aye.
Trustee Klein.
Aye.
Trustee Gray Keeler.
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye, the motion passes.
Thank you. Item C is a request for a policy determination and direction and it's up for first reading and board action tonight. This also relates to economic development and business in the village and the efforts of the village to encourage new business and retail business in the community. Corporation Counsel's Office has reviewed and presents this assessment of a business currently seeking to locate in Skokie. The business that seeks to open on Dempster Street in Skokie is a business with a large number of retail stores throughout Canada and the United States called Rack Attack. The business is primarily engaged in the retail sale of storage racks that can be attached to automobiles using the roof, such as racks to mount bicycles, canoes, other sports equipment. While usually these items are installed by the customer at their home as a do-it-yourself project, as part of the service offered, the Rack Attack staff will install items purchased at the store, in the same way that perhaps if you purchase a basket at a bicycle store, the bicycle staff would attach the basket to your bicycle. This installation is minimally invasive and does not entail the types of noise, mess, and unsightly equipment that accompany auto repair facilities. Moreover, it doesn't require any heavy tools or equipment. This type of business would be considered a retail sales use if not for the extremely broad reference in the Skokie zoning code, which contains the category automotive repair facility, which defines itself as an establishment that commercially repairs, services, adjusts, paints, or equips automobiles or other motor vehicles. In light of the fact that no other municipality is known to define Rack Attack stores as an automotive repair company, and that clearly the installation of accessory racks that do not affect the working of a vehicle is not an auto repair. Rack Attack should not be subject to the Skokie Code provisions for an automotive repair facility. Rather, as a matter of policy, we request that the village board conclude that the auto repair code provision is not intended for this type of retail product. Further, as a matter of policy, we request that the board encourage favorable business practices in order to attract and maintain retail and service businesses to alleviate the downward pressure on and erosion of retail sales tax in the village. Mayor, I request board action to concur with this policy determination and direction that this business is not an automotive repair facility as defined in the code and should not require a special use permit to operate in the village.
A motion to concur with the Corporation Counsel's memorandum on a policy determination regarding Rack Attack would be in order. Trustee Gray Keeler, seconded by Trustee Bromberg. Are there any comments or questions? Trustee Klein.
I went to the website for this Rack Attack and they say on their website, all they do is sales and attach of racks. They do nothing automotive. So then I got to thinking about what they do, and we have various sign companies in town. And the sign companies will put signs on vans and on cars, and they make no more, they don't make any improvements, any work on the cars like this Rack Attack. So I think this falls into that category that, yes, automotives are involved, but in no way, there's no mechanical use done. So I don't think that this could fall under the repair proviso of the ordinance.
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Roberts.
Aye.
Trustee Sutker.
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg.
Aye.
Trustee Klein.
Aye.
Trustee Greg Keeler.
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye, the motion passes.
That concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you. The concluding item before our executive session is citizen comments. Is there anybody who wishes to address the village board? The immense audience that remains. Thank you. Trustee Roberts.
I move we adjourn for executive session.
We are adjourned.